Good evening. I welcome you all to this meeting of the Cardinia Shire Council. The meeting commenced earlier in the evening to consider a confidential matter. I now reconvene the meeting. Due to current COVID-19 restrictions, this meeting is being held virtually and webcast live over the internet. And I understand that we did have a resident or residents attend the civic offices this evening. Unfortunately, we're unable to open the civic offices for the COVID-19 restrictions. So I do apologise if there's any inconvenience caused by those residents who turned up to the Civic Centre. Moving on to the prayer and reflection. Please note that we have replaced the usual prayer to open our council meetings with the following reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Thank you. The Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional land of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people and pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Moving to apologies, I note all councillors are present, so we have nil apologies. Councillors, moving on to the minutes of the previous meetings. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the minutes of the meetings listed in the agenda? Councillors, can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Moore. Seconded by Councillor Kowalczyk. I'll put that to a vote. Councillors, all those in favour, please indicate by show of hands, please. All right, that's carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to declarations of interest. Councillors, are there any declarations you wish to declare? I can't see any councillors putting their hand up, so we note that there is nil declarations. Moving on to the Queen's Birthday Honours. Before moving to the business before us, I would like to make mention of the local residents who recently received recognition as part of the Queen's Birthday Honours. First of all, we want to acknowledge William Joseph Doherty, OAM. Doc, as he's known, has been recognised for his extraordinary service to the Narnagoon Football Club, West Gippsland Football League and the Narnagoon Fire Brigade. Doc was also awarded the Shire Citizen of the Year in 1999 in recognition of his service. Doc is a legend in Narnagoon, as is thoroughly deserving of his honour. Congratulations, Doc. Moving on, acknowledging Sylvia May Ridgway, OAM. Sylvia has been recognised for her service to the community of Kirirup. She has provided virtually a lifetime of service to the Regional Health Service Ladies Auxiliary, the Fire Brigade's Ladies Auxiliary, the Lions Club and the Swimming Club. Sylvia is also thoroughly deserving of this honour. Congratulations, Sylvia. Lynette Elizabeth Stevenson, OAM. Lynn is an icon in Pakenham. Her list of achievements are far too many to mention. Her service to Scouts Victoria, Red Cross, Probus, Uniting Church, Cardinia Civic Band and many others are a credit to her and again thoroughly deserving recipient. Well done, Lynn. Congratulations. Margaret Joan Turner, OAM. Margaret has been recognised for her service also to the Scouts Victoria. Margaret lives in Beaconsfield and has been involved in the scouting movement for many years. She received an amazing 60-year-long service award back in 2017. Again, a thoroughly deserving award recipient. Well done, Margaret. Brian William Petrie, Australian Fire Service Medal, AFSM. Brian, who hails from Gembrook, received the Australian Fire Service Medal in recognition of his outstanding service to the CFA spanning over 50 years. Council is indeed fortunate to have residents of this calibre, and in the coming weeks I'll be writing to all of them, congratulating them on behalf of the Council. Also, I just want to make a statement regarding the recent storms. I want to take this moment to acknowledge the long and challenging week also it has been for many residents in Cardinia Shire following the recent severe storm event. Our thoughts are with those who've been affected. We've seen firsthand the significant impact the storm has had, and we understand that it's a difficult time for so many of our residents affected. Unfortunately, many of our residents are still feeling impacts without power, without telecommunications, and also their local roads affected. The latest numbers indicate that around 50 homes in the Shire remain without power. Our crews have been busy clearing trees and making areas safe, and we understand that work to restore power is continuing as a priority. Please avoid travel to affected areas while the cleanup is underway. The day after the storm, Council opened a support centre at the Hills Hub in Emerald, with a second centre at the Cockatoo Community Complex following soon after. The drop-in centres have given residents access to hot showers, power for charging devices, fresh drinking water, warmth and somewhere to grab a cuppa. The Community Emergency Support Team has done an incredible job with their volunteers being present at both drop-in centres at Emerald and Cockatoo, and they provided much needed support to our impacted residents. Food relief, including barbecue lunches and hot dinners, as well as school lunches, is being provided by the amazing groups that are part of the Cardinia Emergency Relief Task Force. Thank you to everyone involved in the effort so far. Our community members, emergency service agencies, obviously that includes SES, CFA, volunteers, our own council crews and staff that have been operating on the roads and also at the relief centres. We also recognise and thank the regular users of the community facilities used in recovery efforts for their support during this time. On behalf of my fellow councillors and council staff, our thoughts remain with those impacted by the storm. We'll continue to support our community in any way that we can, and we're grateful for the ongoing assistance of everyone involved in the recovery efforts. Thank you. Moving on to ordinary business. The council conducts its meetings according to a consent agenda. Councillors have advised of the matters for consideration this evening that they wish to discuss or debate. The remaining items will be adopted without discussion. First of all, I would like to introduce the item 6.1.1, Adoption of Council Plan 2021 to 25 and the Community Vision. So I would like to introduce this item as Mayor, and it gives me great pleasure in presenting the Council Plan 2021 to 25. The Council Plan 21 to 25 is a visionary document that will help guide the future of our Shire over the next 4 years. It is an exciting strategy that sets the agenda for this council term. It sets us to respond to long-term challenges and opportunities. As Mayor, it's my role, in accordance with the Local Government Act of 2020, to lead engagement with the municipal community on the development of the council plan and report to the municipal community at least once each year on the implementation of the council plan. This council plan focuses on creating livable communities and driving a prosperous economy that is the right fit for our Shire. It's about our commitment to listening to our community and advocating for the needs of our Shire. Our plan reflects the unique identity of our urban, hills and rural areas and ensures we will meet the challenges we face together as a community. It outlines how we can deliver on our vision by focusing our efforts on the key priorities of strong communities, livable places, thriving environments, prosperous economies, and being a responsible leaders. To ensure we, as a council, deliver on these key priorities, we are also outlining supporting strategies and initiatives and strategic indicators to measure our success. The vision and the plan are both the combination of much work and input from our community, the Imagine Cardinia People's Panel and Council. They have developed following 3 rounds of extensive 7-month community consultation and engagement process. I'm pleased to say that more than 1,600 contributions were received as part of the community engagement activities. We are very thankful to our community, businesses and the community groups for their input. We're also proud and thankful for the input of the Imagine Cardinia People's Panel. Thank you. The People's Panel developed the Community Vision 2040. This vision is included in our council plan and outlines our community long-term future aspirations. As Mayor, it was a privilege to lead council and its community engagement process in the developing our council vision and the council plan. The council plan plays a high-level role to guide the organisation. It is a key document in a suite of strategic documents and articulates the implementation of our strategy and policy. We have an exciting 4 years ahead. Through these plans and working with our community, we are well placed to build a Shire that is a great place to live, to work and to play, now and well into the future. So thank you, councillors, for letting me introduce this item. Can I have a motion, please, to adopt the Council Plan 2021 to 25 and Community Vision 2040? Councillors, can I have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Springfield. Thank you, I note that. I'll go to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Jack Kowaczyk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Owen, and thank you for your introduction. I move that Council, 1, adopts the Draft Council Plan 2021 to 25 and the Community Vision 2040, and 2, acknowledges and thanks the Cardinia Shire community for its contribution to the development of the Council Plan and Community Vision through the Imagine Cardinia engagement program. Just to echo the Mayor's sentiment.
Thanks, sorry, Councillor Kowaczyk, thank you. Sorry, I've doubled up here, but thank you for moving that. And I do note Councillor Springfield as seconder, so I'll allow you to speak to your motion. Thanks, Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mayor Owen, and thank you, Councillor Springfield, for your second. It is much appreciated. Just to echo the Mayor's sentiments, I too would like to acknowledge the important contributions of our community throughout this significant engagement process. The Community Vision 2040, which is included in the Council Plan, highlights the long-term aspirations of the community, what Cardinia Shire will be like in 2040. The vision was prepared by the Imagine Cardinia People's Panel, a representative sample of the Cardinia Shire community, to ensure it accurately reflects the wants, needs and dreams of our community. It sets out how we, as a community, value traditional owners, speak with the optimism and insight of our young people, the energy of our community members, and the wisdom and memory of our older citizens. How we will support the people of Cardinia Shire to be strong, resilient, socially connected, and physically and mentally well. That we will look out for one another and our environment. There is more outlined in the full community vision. It is truly an uplifting and aspirational document. I wish to expressly thank the committed People's Panel members who donated not only their time, but their passion about their Shire and their hopes and dreams for our residents into the future. Our council vision and council plan will ensure that we support the creation of livable spaces and places, value our natural assets and support our biodiversity to thrive, support our productive land and employment land to grow local industries, and that we practice responsible leadership. I'm particularly happy to see initiatives in the council plan that include the development of the next phase of the Together We Can initiative with an increased focus on gender equality and financial literacy. A review and update of the Safer Community Strategy to incorporate crime prevention through environmental design, which we're currently working on. The implementation and continued monitoring of the Safer Community Strategy. And the design, commencement, progress and completion of the Pakenham Town Centre streetscape upgrades. Thank you, Mayor. I'll go to my seconder.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. Moving on to the seconder, Councillor Springfield. Thank you, Councillor Springfield, to speak.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. You've both spoken so well to this already, but I'd just like to add that my support, and this is a fantastic document we have in front of us. It's an evolution. It's an evolution to the process we've undertaken in the past, and I think it's reflective of the new Local Government Act that we are now working on, which is an evolution in the right direction for all of procedures of local government across the state. We had a high level of community engagement to help shape this document. This document is a high level overarching document that will really help shape our decision-making process moving forward and guide the strategies long-term into the future to really harness what the best outcomes that we can achieve for the long-term sustainability of our council organisation, but for the long-term livability of our community members. This great part of it is the community vision of 2040, which is a completely new process that we haven't undertaken in the past. And I have to say, I really support the officers that undertook this work with us. It was a really staged process over many months, pretty much since this council was first inducted back in November. We've been stepping through this process and developing this and going back and having revisions on it and really trying to encapsulate the best articulation of what we want to see driven in this. I think we've gone above and beyond what was required of us under the legislation of the Act, and I hope that our community is well received by our community members and really helps guide our future decisions and our strategic work towards delivering the best outcomes for everyone within the Cardinia Shire. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Any other speakers, either for or against the motion? Moving on to Councillor Davies. First of all, thank you, Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Mayor. So the development of this council plan and vision has certainly been a huge focus in our initial 8 months of the council term. And as my colleagues have spoken, this is now a framework for our council for the next 4 years. I would like to acknowledge the extensive consultation, workshopping, review and ownership, and then final engagement. And that has all come together in this final version. My sincere thanks to everyone involved. Our community, our staff, our management, the professional organisations who provided advice on best practice, and also to the councillors. I'm absolutely delighted and honoured to have been part of the development of this. I consider it comprehensive and progressive and very inclusive. I just want to make a quick mention, though, that whilst the endorsement tonight, should that happen, will be a huge milestone and very significant, that these are still just words and we will need to keep going and ensure that this great work is implemented. I know we're in good hands, but it's time to start delivering. So I'm looking forward to working with you all together and supporting our staff and our community and achieve our achieve our promises. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other speakers? Before I go, Councillor Ryan, got you there. Thank you, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll keep it short and sweet. Everyone else has covered most of the things. I just wanted to bring to that the plan of this council plan, the team working hard, the councils working together on this project. Accessibility and inclusion, I think they're two of the main key words that we use that are so important to our community, and accessibility and inclusion to everyone, no matter what age you are. I mean, including open spaces, parks, reserves, support services, environmental strategies, mental health services that are coming and working within our Shire, our Pakenham Main Street scape that's going to be developed, which will make a huge difference to the environment, kindergartens, safety with CCTVs, ageing well process and involving our senior community. I think it's important that we hear about the history and implement that within our council plan. I think that's really important that we keep some of our historical buildings still there, our trees and plants, and some of our Indigenous plants that are really important to our environment. So that's all I've got to say, Mayor, but I think it's a good project. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Any other speakers? There being none, before I go to the mover, I just want to obviously thank, as mentioned before, the community for their involvement, but also councillors. Thank you, councillors, for your involvement in this plan. I think a few weeks ago we had a long night going through each of these action items, and I really want to thank you for your contribution in that. Thank you so much. Also, thank you to our staff. You know, they've been spending months on this, and also the consultant that we had with our people's panel as well. So thank you to our staff. I will go to the mover. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor Owen, and thank you to my fellow councillors for their noteworthy contributions. I outlined before a number of key initiatives that I was excited about. I just want to publicly mention a couple more. Just three more if you'll give me the time. The implementation of some initiatives in the aspirational energy strategy, some really exciting stuff that's quite future focused. Continued advocacy for a Southeast Melbourne airport, and the development and implementation of a strategy aimed at some alternative revenue streams. This one I was really keen to see included in the council plan, and it's fundamentally aimed at taking the burden away from residents and the reliance of council on rates as more or less our only major source of income. And in fact, 77% of council's adjusted underlying revenue comes from rates, which is why this last initiative I'm mentioning is so crucially important, especially for a growth council like Cardinia. They're just a number of the initiatives. There's a lot more in there in this council plan that I'm very excited about and to see them acted upon in the coming years. Through the community vision and the key actions outlined in our council plan, I believe we have a strong strategic direction over the coming years to deliver on the needs of our community. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. So I put this item, 6.1.1, adoption of the Council Plan 2021 to 25 and Community Vision 2040 to a vote. All those in favour, please indicate by show of hands. Thank you. Those against? That's unanimous. That's carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to item 6.1.2, which is the adoption of the budget 2021 to 25, financial plan 21 to 31, and revenue and rating plan 2021 to 25. So this item has been withdrawn by Councillor Ross. I understand you have your own motion to this item, please, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I do. I move the alternate motion. I move, as per the officer's recommendation, to adopt the budget, finance plan and revenue and rating plan subject to the differential rating categories remaining the same percentage-wise of rates collected as they did for the current 2021 financial year.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I note your motion. Can I have a seconder, please, for your motion? Any councillors wishing to second that motion, please? So your first of all was Councillor Kowaczyk. So Councillor Kowaczyk, you want to second that? Yes. Yes. Okay, Councillor Kowaczyk, I note that. I note there was others wanting to, but I've noted Councillor Kowaczyk. I'll go to Councillor Ross to speak to his motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. To put a bit of detail around what I just said as an alternate motion, is our council has differential rating categories that council rates are formulated on. In this year's differential ratings, there's looked to be some changes in the percentages and the way that we work them out. If people saw the detail, they would realise that there will be 2,403 residents who will get a 1% discount in this formulation on your council rates. Now, council still gets the same amount of money as the total financial pool, regardless of which way the differential rates go. So council doesn't miss out. But what actually happens is, if one group gets a discount, another group has to pay for it. So in this year's budget, the officers put to council that they wanted to get the differential ratings changed a little bit and move the percentages a little bit closer together. And in doing so, we finished up with, after a series of budget meetings that I attended and most of the councillors attended, I think all of them attended, we finished up with a group of residents, 2,403 ratepayers, who will get a 1% discount after the rate cap comes in. There'll be 24,832 residents who will pay 1% more in their rates to compensate for the discounts to the other people. I just think this is wrong. I think the residents, the 24,832 people, don't get anything more in way of services or anything for their money for the extra 1% they'll pay on top of the rate cap. And I just think if we leave it the way it is, that would be the fairest way. Anyway, I ask my fellow councillors to consider this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I'll move to the seconder, Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. I just wanted to note for my fellow councillors that should this motion be unsuccessful, I'd like to foreshadow a motion to approve the officer's recommendation. I seconded this motion tonight simply for the purposes of discussion, and also I respect Councillor Ross's right to voice his opinion, especially considering he is a long-serving councillor. I disagree with this motion. However, I'd be interested to see what my fellow councillors have to say on it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. I do note your foreshadow. If this motion is lost, you're foreshadowing moving the officer's recommendation as the agenda papers. I will go to any other councillors wishing to speak. Councillors. All right, first of all, we've got Councillor Davies. Thank you, Councillor Davies. Sorry, Councillor Davies, you're on mute. Thank you.
My apologies. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, sorry. Thank you, Mayor. I'm very wary when any alternative motion comes as a surprise and without reasonable notice prior to council. Our decisions need to be made with care and need to be made with transparency, and I consider there's a huge risk in any rushed changes without the appropriate analysis, review and debate. So Councillor Ross has explained that 2,403 residents will be getting a discount. And these are my constituents in Pakenham's Lakeside Estate. And why are they getting a reduced rate this year? Because for years we have had a large surcharge just for living in Lakeside. And it has been suggested and agreed that this is removed. And it's been debated for years by my understanding. Because it's been proven that all of Cardinia use Lakeside's lakes. So the additional maintenance at Lakeside is something everyone enjoys, not just the owners of the properties within the estate. Hence, this has been changed based on evidence and it's been agreed upon. And hence, the revised mechanisms for rate collection within this budget. And for that, can I please also raise to my councillor colleagues that for the past 7 months, councillors, staff and independent finance professionals have been in extensive collaboration. All aspects have been reviewed and debated at length. The draft budget was presented to our community. It's finally been nullified, the rate surcharge on Lakeside, and the rate payers in Lakeside enjoy the lake and can enjoy the lake just like everybody else across the Shire. So why should they foot the bill for the additional maintenance? This has been considered, reviewed, analysed, debated, and then accepted and supported and exhibited to the community in detail. So this alternative motion removes the chance for fairness for Lakeside's ratepayers. And prior to this evening, at 3:15 p.m, I understood the final council officer recommendations as we've worked through and spent hours on. It was agreed on in principle by all councillors. So in closing, I urge my fellow councillors to please proceed with caution with this or any alternative motion. It is a massive last-minute change, and as well as my ward, it could have significant ramifications in their own wards too. I thank you all for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other councillor wishing to speak to this item, please? Councillor Ryan was first, I believe. Go, Councillor Ryan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks to everyone that's presented their point of view. And I think this is about point of view, and we all have different ideas and different thoughts depending on where we live, who we interact with, who our residents are within our ward. And I look at what's in my ward, and there's a lot more lower income within my ward. So if they were to pay extra, they'd be quite concerned. I think the biggest thing that stands out is that there's extra 8 cuts that Lakeside gets over anywhere else. So if we are going to go down this road, I think the services should be the same for everyone. So if there's 26 times that they're going to have the lawns mowed and cut within parks and reserve, well, then that should happen everywhere else. So it's about equality, and I just want to see equality within the rates, and everyone gets an equal turn. And I think that's what we're all aiming for, is that everyone gets that equality. But if there is some confusion, and our residents do get confused about the rates and how it works in the budget, because they don't always understand it. It's taken councillors quite a bit of time to learn that process as well. So I just want to see that every area gets the same service within, if there's going to be, if we're going down this road, if it's voted in favour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I think Councillor Moore to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I'll be supporting Councillor Ross on this particular item. I made no secret at our discussions that we had between councillors that I wanted the rates system as it was, with the differential rates, to be left as they were at those years gone by. And I think there's a financial year, the 2021. So I've got no hesitation to support this motion from Councillor Ross. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any other speakers? Before I go to Councillor Ross to sum up, I just want to note when we did go to public consultation regarding the budget papers, there was no submission by recollection on this issue. So no submissions. I will go to Councillor Ross to sum up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. To go back to the history of why certain ratepayers paid a little bit more in their rates, was going back to a report that came to council going back 10 years ago. The people in the estate that will get the discount if this doesn't go through and stays the same had what's called a parkland maintenance level done in their area, which means instead of getting 18 cuts a year of their lawns, their parks and gardens and everything, they got 26 cuts a year. So it was done every fortnight. They also have about approximately last year 11 more visitations by crews to do gardening in the area, and they've got 5 times more open space than any other estate in Cardinia Shire. That's why there was a extra rate on that. What I would say is for that, basically there was about, going back 10 years ago, there was an extra $200,000 spent in that estate to compensate for this extra higher level of maintenance that was different to everywhere else in the Shire. And getting the little bit of extra rates only compensated to $60,000. So the rest of the ratepayers were actually paying an extra $140,000 a year extra to compensate for it then, even with the system that was existing. Now, all I'll say is for people to get a discount for getting something extra, and the other people who get nothing more to pay for it.
Can I call a point of order, please?
So we'll just pause you there, and Councillor Ross, you've got 30 seconds remaining to summing up. But Councillor Davies, you've asked for a point of order. Can you detail what your point of order is, please?
Yes, Mayor Owen. My point of order is in relation to the terminology. I don't believe Lakeside residents are being offered a discount on their rates. What has actually evolved under the finance, and I'll just explain it, is a surcharge that was put onto this estate after much debate has actually been removed. So yes, this community will be paying a little bit less this year, but now the property for the now the ratings per suburban block are going to be the same. So this is important to my residents, and this is crucial, and it's very important that council understand that Lakeside is not getting a discount. and that's
Thank
the wrong
you. Thank
wording.
you. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Davies. You're asking for clarification regarding the wording of a discount, and I tend to agree. Can I make a ruling? Thanks, Councillor Ross. I don't know if Carol, our CEO, I don't know if you can assist in clarification here, but my understanding is Lakeside, if the amendment is lost and the budget is approved, that Lakeside residents will be paying the general rate with the other urban growth areas. They won't be discounted. They will be paying the same rate in the dollar as the general urban growth corridor rate. Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor. That's correct.
So they're not getting a discount. They're just paying the same as everyone else in the urban growth corridor. That's correct. Councillor, just clarified that. I just clarified that. So, Councillor Ross, you've got 30 seconds to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Ross.
Let's get this straight. They pay more than the urban rate now. They'll be getting a 1% discount to come down to the urban rate.
Councillor Ross, using the word discount I think is not correct.
Well, what would you call it, Mr. Mayor?
So, you've got 20 seconds. Thank you, Councillor Ross, to sum up. Thank you. Keep in mind the point of order. Thank you.
I met with the residents originally. They wanted the extra services, but they didn't want to pay for it. What I'll suggest is everybody should get the extra maintenance, or in that
point of order, please.
Oh, hang on.
So, sorry. Councillor Davies, I'm going to let Councillor Ross finish.
My
He's
apologies.
got 15 seconds to sum up, and I encourage him to do so. Thank you. Make the most of his time. Thank you.
When can I start, Mr. Mayor, so that I don't get cut in between again, please?
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Go ahead. Thank you. You've got 15 seconds.
I will suggest that everybody in the new contracts that come through, if everyone's paying the same, everybody gets the same level of maintenance, which either means the whole rest of the Shire, the 24,000 residents paying more, will get the same level as Lakeside, or Lakeside gets dropped down to the same level that they pay for with their rates, the 24,000. That is fair and that is reasonable.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Your time has expired. I will put your motion up, councillors. I'll put Councillor Ross's motion up for voting. All those in favour of Councillor Ross' motion, please indicate by a show of hands. Thank you. Those against, please indicate by a show of hands. That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Jack Kowaczyk, you foreshadowed a motion. Thank you. Sorry, just clarification, sorry. That motion is lost. Councillor Ross's motion has lost. So in discussion, Councillor Kowaczyk, you foreshadowed a motion. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor, and I'm happy to move this motion tonight. I move that Council, having completed the deliberative community engagement process in respect of the Financial Plan 2021 to 31, Budget 2021 to 25, and Revenue and Rating Plan 2021 to 25, consistent with Council's engagement policy, including the review and consideration of community feedback submissions at a Council briefing on Monday, the 24th of May 2021, resolves as follows. 1. The Financial Plan, Budget and Revenue and Rating Plan annexed to this resolution be adopted for the purposes of Section 91, 93 and 94 of the Local Government Act 2020 and Section 161 of the Local Government Act 1989. And 2. The declaration and levy of rates and charges for the 2021 to 22 financial year contained within the budget annexed to this resolution be adopted for the purposes of Section 94 of the Local Government Act 2020 and Sections 157 to 158 and 161 to 163 of the Local Government Act 1989.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. Can I have a seconder to that motion? Thank you, Councillor Davies. Going back to the mover, Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Davies, for your second. This is the big item on the agenda tonight, given that it will shape Council for the next 4 to 10 years from a fiscal and financial viewpoint. There are 3 policies or plans included in this agenda item, being the budget, the financial plan and the revenue rating plan. These plans and policies provide the broad fiscal boundaries to support the achievement of the community vision and council plan previously mentioned in providing for the key needs for our current and future community. In terms of consultation, the proposed budget was prepared with the senior leadership team and all business unit managers. Managers were required to prepare their operating budgets based on the needs of service programs, whilst keeping in line with the previous budget plans. Financial implications of known changes were also taken into consideration. The budget documents were available for public feedback, and all the submissions were noted and presented to Council with recommendations. A number of items were included based on the feedback we received from the community. Those changes have been updated in the budget document and figures updated. Councillors also had great opportunity to help shape the budget, financial plan and revenue and rating plan via 3 workshops and 4 briefing sessions in which all items were given room for discussion. I actually think we went over our allotted time fairly regularly and had to push back other agenda items during these discussions. The engagement process with the People's Panel was also a fantastic outcome and really provided an opportunity for in-depth community feedback and gave people a proactive opportunity to shape the future of our municipality. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. I will now go to the seconder, Councillor Davies, to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to thank Councillor Kowaczyk for his motion. I'd like to reiterate that for the past 7 months, councillors, staff and independent finance professionals have had extensive collaboration regarding our rates, our revenue and developed these plans. All aspects of the budget have been reviewed and debated at length, and then the draft budget was presented to the council community, to the Cardinia community without objection. This has been considered, reviewed, analysed, debated and then accepted and supported in detail. I would like to express my thanks to everyone involved. I'm confident that Cardinia Council's financial management is under improved scrutiny with the professionalism by my colleagues on the current council. And I want to ensure our community that our fiscal responsibilities are being met. Whilst it might not be a glamorous and fun area, it is part of our job, and we will ensure that that we have a hard look on the council and ensure effective financial management. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk and Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other councillor wishing to speak to this item? Thank you, Councillor Springfield.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor. And look, and I just want to say a few words to highlight that this is an important time of the year. Each year this comes around, adopting our budget. We've put a lot of work into this document, months and months and months in the making, trying to deliver on the best outcomes that we can recognise for our community. You know, up until now, the conversation has been focused mostly on the 1% change here and there of the differential rates, but I think that's a minor part to play in this budget, because the most important thing is what we are going to deliver for our community. And some of the highlights include a capital works program of over $98 million, including the carryovers. It's an ambitious program. We have been delivering an ambitious capital works program over the years that I've been involved with council, and I'm glad to say that we punch above our weight. Our organisation does, compared to the sector, when it comes to delivering for our growing communities. Such highlights include the My Place Youth Facility, which is going to be so fantastic once this becomes online in the near future. Cobley Banks Reserve Pavilion and car parking to go alongside the grounds and everything to go alongside the works that we were recently there for the launch of the pavilion down there. A lot of great infrastructure works as well, including our Connect Cardinia road sealing program of over $10 million, and asset renewal, capital expenditure of $44 million on asset renewal and upgrades, looking at our roads, our bridges, our footpaths, our drains, our buildings, our plant equipment, and everything that goes in the back, behind the scenes of delivering for such a large council. We have 1,250 square kilometres roughly of land, you know, spread out for our Shire. It is massive compared to our inner city neighbours, and I'm really pleased to see that we do punch above our weight when it comes to delivering and trying to meet the shortfalls, you know, and trying to find the gaps and deliver what's needed for our growing communities. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Any other councillors wishing to speak to this item? Councillor Ross. Thank you, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. In speaking to the budget now, after the last alternate motion got defeated, what we'll actually see is we have a legislated rate cap of 1.5%, which goes across our formulations of our differential rating. By knocking back that last alternate motion and bringing in this, residents, 24,832 residents, won't pay the 1.5 rate cap now, they'll pay 2.5%. Then the other group, the 2,403 people, will only pay 0.5% rate increase. So now you're going to have a differential of 2.5% for 90% of the people in residential areas.
Can I call a point of order, please?
And 10% will pay 0.5%.
Sorry.
Which is a difference.
Councillor Ross, can you just pause there for a
2%.
moment, please? Councillor Ross,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thank you. I've stopped your time, by the way, Councillor Ross. Councillor Davies, you've got a point of order, please.
I do, Councillor Owen. Obviously I am the ward councillor and the representative for that estate as well as some other estates. And I don't believe that the figures being touted are correct. And I do believe that I'm wondering if it is possible within procedure for our CEO or her staff to comment on the accuracy of that. The last thing I want to see is division in our community about you pay more, you get more, and people sort of gibbering against each other. All discussions prior to tonight were about making our rate system fair, accurate, in line with the Act.
All right, thank you,
Mr. Mayor, what's the point of order? Or is this just an opportunity to speak?
Thank you.
Make a statement.
All right. Councillor Davies is asking about clarification. So I'll ask the CEO to, if you can clarify. Obviously, Councillor Ross made some statements regarding the rate cap and how it impacts on other differentials. So I've got a question regarding clarification on that. Can I ask the CEO, please, for clarification?
Thank you, Mayor. So the percentage changes relates to the revenue that's generated by the rate base overall. So the 1% that's reduced on the 2,000 odd ratepayers for that one cohort is spread across all of the revenue that's generated by those properties, as is the 1% increase that's generated across all the 24,000 odd properties. So that does not translate into a 1% increase or decrease on individual rate notices. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, CEO. I will go back to Councillor Ross to talk to this item. Thank you.
As I spoke to the Manager of Finance, Scott, earlier today, and in the projections which I have in front of me here, basically, and we've been told at every one of our meetings that there would be a 1% increase to the urban rate people, the 24,832, and there would be a 1% discount reduction to the 2,403. If my maths is correct and you're going to pay 1.5% legislated, some are going to pay more, it gets added to the 1.5. And then for the others who are going to get 1.5, if they get a discount, it must go down. So therefore, the difference between the two on the rating
a point of order about
will be hold on. I mean,
Please.
you've got to say
I think
what ruling is on the point of order.
So briefly, Councillor Davies.
Mr. Mayor, my point of order
what is your point of order, please?
It's been established. Mr. Mayor, my point of order is just that it's been established that Lakeside residents nor any residents are receiving any discounts. So I believe that should be removed.
Councillor Davies.
I said reduction, Mr. Mayor. I didn't say discount. I said they will get a reduction.
I think Councillor Ross is in line.
A reduction.
After following the CEO's comments. So I'll go back to you, Councillor Ross, please.
Thank you. So therefore, if you have a legislated a maximum amount of 1.5 and you get added on to that and some will get a reduction, that means the gap will be so much bigger for 90% of the people at the behest of 10% of the people. I'm pointing that out. That's why I will not be supporting this. In times of hardship, with the COVID situation, we have one of the highest amounts of people who are covered by by JobKeeper and JobSeeker, and to think this is the year that we choose to do this, that the difference would be that big, I think is grossly unfair, and I will not support those 24,000 people paying more. Anyway, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Any other speakers? I'll say some comments and I'll put the timer on me as well. Just bear with me, sorry, with my notes. Thank you, councillors. So this is the first budget of this 4-year term. Based on community feedback received during the Imagine Cardinia engagement process, this budget focuses on operating efficiently and effectively in a financially responsible way to meet community needs and to deliver on the commitments, in the new council plan 2021 to 25. Council engaged with the community through various channels such as online surveys, connect surveys, postcards, and took a deliberate engagement approach. Council called upon community members to participate in the first People's Panel, the first one that we've ever had in Cardinia, a panel that represented the diversity of Cardinia's residents, age groups and different townships. The panel worked collaboratively with council officers and deliberated on the wider community feedback to help us form Cardinia Shire's first ever community vision. This is a proud achievement for the organisation to help build a community which will have a intergenerational benefit through a long-term vision. Value for money remains a guiding principle in this budget, and to keep rates as affordable as possible while delivering a wide range of valued services to our community within the state government's rate cap. Our focus remains the delivery of essential services our community has told us it needs and expects. These include roads, rubbish and recycling, maternal and children's services, library services, sporting ovals, street sweeping and community supports from school crossings to senior citizen centres. The budget details the financial and non-financial resources required to continue to deliver these services over the next 4 years within the rate cap. The budget also includes details of the proposed capital expenditure allocations to provide new, improved and renewed infrastructure, buildings, reserves and leisure spaces, footpaths, roads and drains. With our growth, we continue to rely heavily on grant opportunities to support the community's needs as well as advocacy to attract more services, infrastructure and investment into our community. Importantly, Council's commitment to sealing of unsealed roads and improved maintenance of unsealed roads will continue throughout this budget period. As mentioned by other councillors, we've got an extensive capital works program as part of this budget. Council has worked hard with the community to develop a budget that provides and values and affordability in meeting the community service priorities and expectations, delivering innovative projects and investing in the community and local economy for the future while working within the constraints of the limited revenue sources and the rate cap. We look forward to partnering with our community to realise the benefits the budget provides for over the next 4 years. So thank you, councillors. I will go to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor. In response to some of the previous comments regarding the rates, which is obviously just one part of this motion that we're discussing tonight, for the urban residential rate, which most of our Shire falls under, what will be passed tonight is the cheapest option for residents that was brought to councillors for a recommendation. $8, $10 or $18 were the average differential rate rises that were brought to us under a number of scenarios by council's financial officers. And we've gone with the option that provides value to the majority of the Shire. We've gone with the cheapest option that we were provided with. Under the previous notice of motion raised, and some of my fellow councillors have expressed this view, there was a potential there to be giving potential developers a discount on their rates, and we didn't want to see that happen. So this is very complex, and I must admit it's something I've had to get my head around and do a lot of background work on. And there is a lot of nuance in this conversation. So I just sort of think, leaving all that behind now, I just want to move on to some of the exciting capital works projects Councillor Springfield and Mayor Owen mentioned a lot of the exciting projects that are going on Shire-wide, but I just wanted to bring it close to home a little bit, and just within our small ward of Pakenham Hills, I just wanted to mention the expansion of the playground facilities on Windermere Boulevard, which the local community is very excited about, as well as 3 other community reserves to be upgraded in the coming years. Also, some bicycle and walking paths works on Tumuck Valley Road from Pomegranate Way to Browns Road. So going from Pakenham Hills into Beacon Hills Ward, which really shows the commitment of this council to improve accessibility outcomes. And finally, just to wrap up, these 3 financial strategic documents have been influenced by the community vision and the council plan, with community consultation, and are based on sound financial principles, prudent debt management, responsible asset management, and ratepayer equity, value, and affordability principles. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. So I put this item 6.1.2, adoption of the budget 2021 to 25, financial plan 2021 to 31, and revenue and rating plan 2021 to 25 up for a vote. The motion of Councillor Kowaczyk. All those in favour, please indicate by a show of hands. Thank you. Those against? All right, that is lost.
And
Thank
can I
you.
call for a division, please, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, so I have received a division call from Councillor Ross. So all those in favour of Councillor Kowazik's motion of adoption of the budget and associated documents 6.1.2, all those in favour, please indicate by show of hands, please. Thank you. That's yep, thank you. I note those. Sorry, I call upon, again, I'll name you, Councillor Davies, Councillor Radford, Councillor Kowaczyk, Councillor Springfield, and Councillor Owen. Those against, please indicate by a show of hands, please. So I call upon Councillor Graham Moore, Councillor Collin Ross, Councillor Carol Ryan. So that motion is carried, passed. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to the next item. 6.1.3, notice of motion 1064, gender equity and equality update. This item has been withdrawn by Councillor Ross. Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillor Ross, you're on mute. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I'm just trying to find it, that's all. I move the officer's recommendation that council stays informed of council's commitment and progress towards gender equity and equality within the organisation and the community in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Can I have a seconder, please? I see Councillor Ryan's hand. I note that as seconder. Going back to the mover, Councillor Ross, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, this is a really important document that will come back to council on a quarterly basis, outlining the things that we're doing in the area of gender equity under the Act, gender impact assessments, gender surveys, respectful workplaces training, and we'll have a community update on the Together We Can round table, and it will also to show how we interact with the Charter of Human Rights and Responsibilities Act, the Workplace Gender Equality Act, the Equal Opportunity Act, and the Fair Work Act in this area. I think it's really important that the community knows and understands what council is doing in this space. And I look forward to people giving their feedback on the information, and if we can grow in this area and do anything better, I hope that they can come forward and share with us. We're doing the best we can to be best practice in this area. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I call upon Councillor Ryan as seconder to speak. Thank you.
I'll reserve my right to speak at the moment, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I note your reservation there. Any other speakers, councillors? Any other councillors wishing to speak? Thank you. I call upon Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. Thank you, Councillor Ross, for withdrawing this motion. Thank you, Carol Ryan, for the second. I just wanted to commend a couple of council officers who I know have been really influential in this space in bringing this to the fore and trying to help make Cardinia Shire a leader in this space. I just wanted to thank Fiona Cost, Carol Jeffs and Jenny Cicluna for their work in this space, and also Ruth McGowan, who has come to council a number of times to speak to us on a number of different issues, but I've found her support in this space and helping educate me really, really vital. So I just wanted to thank those people for their work.
Working this mute button well. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. I'll go to Councillor Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'd just like to reiterate quickly and commend the great work of our officers that are working in this space and trying to, ensuring that Cardinia Shire Council is the most inclusive work environment for all to be a part of. They've committed, if you read the report, they've done some great work to date, and this is going to be a monthly report. Keep us updated because the work is going to continue. But just to give a big thanks, just as following Councillor Kowazik's lead there in our officers that are taking charge of this for us. So thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. Any other speakers, councillors? Thank you, Councillor Davies. I call upon you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. I think that I'd like to thank everyone that's spoken, and I think that because I am a woman and we've had a lot of men speak, that it's very important. So I apologise I haven't got something prepared, but I also, as a female councillor, I'd just like to share that I am, one reflection I have is that as a woman is that that my daughter is growing up in a very different world to what I did. And I know that my mother and my grandmother didn't have the opportunities that I have had. And I think that whilst our society has made a lot of progress towards equality, the facts and the science all says that women, there is a lack of equity, and gender is just the first part. We look at racial, we look at LGBTI inclusion, we look at people with disabilities. There is so much potential in learning more and doing more as we know more, and I want to reiterate that I find that every woman has a story, whether it's a perception, whether it's a feeling, and I want to reiterate my thanks. I am very, very confident with the professionalism and the expertise of the work that is being done by staff under Ms. Jeffs, and I look forward to these reports too. So thank you, Council and Mayor Owen.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other speakers before I go to the seconder? No other speakers. Before I go to the seconder, I'll just say brief comments as well. I completely support the work Council is doing in this space and advise that Council is committed to taking action towards promoting gender equity and equality, both within our community and within Council. And I'm pleased to see this progress report tabled tonight. As a Council, we're working towards gender equality through our policies, programs and services. We also support activities within our community, such as the statewide Your Ground project and the community-driven Together We Can program. Everyone is affected by gender inequality. Women, men, trans and gender diverse people, children and families, and it impacts people of all ages and backgrounds and abilities. We must continue to strive toward a community where people of all genders have equal rights, responsibilities and opportunities, because gender equality is good for everyone. So thank you, councillors. I will go to the seconder, Councillor Ryan, to speak before I go to the mover to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. This is really, really a great plan for council and all other councils in and around Victoria and Australia. It's something that people have talked about for many years and what we should be doing, and now we're all part of it. I think some of the gender equality that we don't always look at is the safety that applies to not only females but males and youth. It doesn't matter what age you are, feeling secure and safe and having that equality service for all is really, really important. And I think the improvement of our health and well-being to increase the community understanding of health issues and options to help them make appropriate decisions that will help them feel safe within our community. And leading by example is one of, within the promoting our workplace, is one of the most important things, because we spend a lot of our time within work and it's a second family. And so we should have that respect. And I think making that decision to share and accept equality, accept everybody else's opinion. So I think it's remembering what you say, what your behaviour is towards other people, accepting a difference of opinion, how appropriate, how to approach another person is the best result. And one of the things, lastly, that is happening, and together we can round the table, there's a committee from the 1st of June, some interest from staff, identifying staff members to design and develop women mentoring women program. And it's one of Carol's aspirations, which is really fantastic. And this is a program that women will be mentoring each other within our community. And I think that's a really important issue. But I think too, you know, equality and gender equality is about males as well. It's not just females. So that's all I've got to add to that, Mayor Owen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Speaking as the seconder to the motion, I will go back to Councillor Ross to sum up. Thank you, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's really important, and I value all the opinions that have been shared around the room on their experience in this area. Everyone has a different experience. Some don't have as good an experience, which is really sad, but hopefully we can be something to do with the solution in this area, and we can keep building on the things that we do. And if there's best practice out there, even better than what we do, we just want to be part of that. So anyway, I look forward to this coming back every quarter and looking forward to seeing what we're doing in this space. And hopefully their good work will keep going. I know that it was pointed out that we've got some amazing people who I've dealt with my time on council, on staff, who really throw themselves into this with all their heart and their passion. So I value them very much so, and I look forward to seeing what they come up with in the next report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillors, I put this item, which is item 6.1.3, notice of motion 1064, gender equity and equality update. The motion of Councillor Ross's. All those in favour, please indicate by show of hands. Thank you. Those against? Those against? Okay, that's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. That's carried. Moving on to our next item. Our next item is item 6.1.5, Public Toilet Strategy 2020 to 2030. This item has been withdrawn by Councillor Radford to move the motion. Thank you, Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I've withdrawn item 6.1.5 Public Toilet Strategy 2020 to 2030. I move the officer's recommendation that Council adopt the finalised Public Toilet Strategy 2020 to 2030 together with the Capital Improvement Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford, for that motion. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Kowaczyk, I note you as seconder. Going back to the mover, Councillor Radford. Thank you, Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk, for your second. Firstly, I'd like to thank the council officers who have worked on this strategy and getting it completed. It's quite in-depth, and I thank them for their work that they've put into it. Now, I know it may sound a bit on the nose to be talking about public toilets in a council meeting, but establishing a strategy is important, and it ensures that public toilets are in the right places of need, maintained to a standard that residents and visitors to the Shire expect, and user-friendly for all abilities. The Shire currently manages a total of 35 public toilets, with the first being built in Garfield Recreation Reserve in 1952. Currently, several toilets do not comply with modern accessibility and SEPTEB standards due to the standards of the time in which they were built in. I was also really astonished to read that over the last 4 years, approximately $40,000 of vandalism costs have been experienced across all public toilets, with prime incidents being in Kuirup, Pakenham and Lang Lang. Further details of costs related to the maintenance of public toilets is in the report attached to this agenda item if anybody wanted to view that. On the 22nd of June 2020, the community was provided with the opportunity to have an input into the development of this public toilet strategy. 149 residents participated and responded to a variety of questions, which were taken into consideration when this strategy was finalised. And I'd like to encourage all residents to participate in future consultations, as it does help to shape council policies. There were 4 goals identified to support and achieve the requirements of the strategy. These are: 1, all public toilets be maintained and clean to a set standard, meeting council, community and visitor expectations. 2, all existing public toilets be progressively updated to meet current standards and accessibility requirements. 3, public toilet design meets community expectations, including giving consideration to changing places facilities. And 4, new public toilets be provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Space Management Framework, demonstrating the needs of the community and levels of service. In addition, the strategy provides consideration to gender-neutral toilets, accommodating changing community attitudes on gender. These identified goals are important to our Shire. We are a fast-growing Shire with a high rate of visitors to our tourist sites, and our public toilets are a critical infrastructure and needs to meet the demands and expectations that are put on them. I'm also really pleased that this strategy takes into consideration changing places facilities. Council currently has 1 accredited changing places facility at the Dee Creek Reserve, and there needs to be more. Changing places facilities are important. They provide a facility that is larger than the standard accessible toilets and include facilities within this that assist those with high support needs. We need to do all we can to ensure that these facilities are installed in locations such as shopping centres and our tourist sites. And I'm strongly advocating for a changing places facility to be installed in the new Officer Town Centre development. I'll pass on to my seconder, as I'm sure Councillor Kowaczyk may have more to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I will go to Councillor Kowaczyk as the seconder. Thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Radford, for withdrawing this item and speaking to it so well. This is a very well written report and fills a gap in council policy. Public toilets are an area that not a lot of people give much thought to, but it's in everyone's best interest to get this right. As Councillor Radford mentioned, all toilets will be gender equitable, all accessible, and consideration will be given to changing places facilities. These are all great outcomes. In the future, though, I would love to see an expansion of this policy that installs a framework working in conjunction with the open space policy that allows for council to undertake preemptive, merit-based statistical assessments on reserves that we manage. This policy albeit a quality document with a great mapping of maintenance and plans for upgrades of facilities, does not expand on where new public toilets are chosen to be built. The strategy does refer to the open space management framework, where consideration to public toilets is given. However, I would like to see some more future-focused policy on this moving forward, and I think the author of the report and the team are well placed to do that. We should not continue to rely on community complaints and advocacy to identify problem areas. Currently, this remains a reactionary process, and we are now in a better position to improve this moving forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Kwasi. Any other councillors wishing to speak? Geez, a bit late there, councillors, but I'll go to Councillor Springfield first.
Look, thank you, Mayor. I didn't think anyone else was going to speak, so I thought I'd chuck it out, but sorry for making your job more difficult. Look, I just wanted to say that I'm very supportive of this. It's been a long time in the making. It's been talked about, and from your position, I think when I first got to council, you were advocating for this because we need public toilets and we need them in the right places to service the needs of our community and of our tourism that comes to our towns, which is so important. Just one highlight for me is that Emerald will be getting a upgrade for its public toilet in Warra Reserve. I just want to break the hearts of a few residents out there. The existing toilet is not listed under heritage laws of any way, shape or form. So just as a little passing joke there you know what I'm talking about. But look, it's going to be a great upgrade, and I can see in the capital works infrastructure for the toilet strategy, a number of toilets are coming online over the coming years to meet our needs. So I'm very supportive. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. I will go to Councillor Moore to say some words. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. I'm sorry to be the last minute speaking as well. A bit of a race there with my fellow councillor, Councillor Springfield. I reiterate what he said and what all the other councillors said about this item. To have a strategy, of course, in any of our items within council gives us a guideline of where we need to travel sometimes, and it always can be upgraded. It's a moving, floating item strategies, and so they are guidelines. And I'm fully supportive of this strategy because on the lips of our residents and our of Cardinia Shire, one of the major things, and I hear it quite often, they want more public toilets in strategic places, particularly every park we have within the Cardinia Shire. The number one item that they want in those, you imagine you're going to a park and you're going to a playground and you've got a couple of young children there, of course, naturally, it's going to be number one on your list. And I know I hear it quite often across particularly Bunyip Ward, where there's not enough, as they say, but they're very expensive. And they are something very difficult to get into places. I know the one that's in Rotary Park there took many 20 odd years it's been around to get that unit. Then it took a lot of it took funding from state government to make that happen, and that's where it must come from sometimes. So I can see the face of these public toilets are changing. The design of these public toilets are changing. I know that public toilet that's in that Garfield Rec Reserve, and it's still being used, believe it or not. I don't know how come it's being used, but it still is from the 1950s. But it is still there, so it gets cleaned and whatever, but it's still very, very old-fashioned in comparison to the new units we have today. So I commend Councillor Radford for bringing this item up to council tonight, because I think it's something that the public, our residents, want to hear, that we've got a strategy in place and we're looking into these areas instead of just hit and missing, as Councillor Kowalczyk was saying before. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any other speakers, councillors? There being none, before I go back to Councillor Radford, I just want to make some brief comments, please. Thank you, councillors, for your comments on this. I have been very interested in this issue for many years and welcome this policy document. Public toilets, as mentioned by other councillors, are so important, particularly for young families that have children and also people with a disability. So I welcome the community's feedback in the compilation of this policy, as noted by Councillor Radford, over 100 responses. We also involved our Access and Inclusion Committee regarding this policy. And it really is a really thorough document. I do want to thank our responsible officer behind this policy, Walter. Thank you, Walter, for that. I've been a bugbear in your backside regarding this policy, so I'm really happy it's before us for consideration. But this will be a really important document for future budget deliberations, and the budget we've just adopted only minutes ago already has 3 toilet upgrades in that. And as Councillor Springfield said, that's the Worrell Reserve, that's Gembrook in the town's, the business precinct, and also the Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve. They're all budgeted items for improved toilets. So this document will be used by future councils and obviously future budget deliberations, and where we will consider budget allocations for future toilet upgrades. But I welcome any discussions regarding improving access to public toilets at existing facilities, and Councillor Moore, you talked about a little bit that in your talk, and also building, when we're building new facilities, my view is we need to look at opportunities where we provide public toilets at these new facilities that is accessible, during the day, when non-organised sport events occur. So that might be at some of our rec reserves, etc. So I welcome that sort of deliberations in the future when we're designing a capital works program and building new facilities as well. So I do thank Councillor Radford for bringing this for debate. So I'll go back to you, Councillor Radford, to sum up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to my fellow councillors for your valuable comments. We're all on the same boat. The public toilets are a critical community asset to our Shire. It assists in creating it as a livable community, and not meeting community expectations may have a negative impact on people's health and well-being and the Shire as well. So it's important to have this strategy, as it will ensure that safe, clean and accessible public toilets will be at appropriate locations. And having a public toilet strategy provides direction for maintaining the current public toilet assets and getting those older ones up to the required standards. So I seek my fellow councillors' support to move this recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. So I put this item 6.1.5 Public Toilet Strategy 2020 to 2030. That motion of Councillor Radford's. Those in favour, councillors, please indicate by a show of hands. Thank you. Those against? Those against? I see none. That's unanimous. That's carried. Thank you, councillors. I need to advise councillors that in regard to item 6.2.2, contract 20/63, new My Place Youth Centre facility relocation and expansion, the recommended tenderer for these works cannot accommodate this project and have withdrawn their tender. Therefore, a contract cannot be let at this stage, and council will have to reconsider this contract at a future meeting. So councillors, please note that we can't discuss this item. Moving on, councillors, that includes discussion of the matters withdrawn. Can I have a mover, please, to adopt the officer's recommendations for the balance of the items listed in the agenda? Councillors, can I have a mover? I see Councillor Radford and seconded by Councillor Moore. Councillors, I put the motion. All those in favour, please indicate by a show of hands. Thank you. Those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to councillor reports. Councillors, are there any reports that you wish to report on? Thank you, councillors. If you've got some matters you wish to report on, please indicate. I see Councillor Davies first of all. Thank you, Councillor Davies. Go, Councillor Davies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Sorry, bear with me. There's numerous incredible community organisations, largely volunteer-run, that provide our community with events and activities and opportunities to connect, to laugh, to socialise. And I have received feedback, and it came in via the Lakeside Residents Group, that often our council is difficult for them to deal with, that they have a hard time getting the appropriate approvals, the signage, the advertising, the insurance. So I am very excited to report that Council has recently invested and engaged a dedicated festivals and events officer. Her name is Hannah Milne, and she started this week. So she will be providing a central conduit point for those in our community who run events and activities and festivals. She's going to provide a central source for any information to really ensure that all our events are delivered safely and in compliance with the rules. And this will also hopefully prevent our volunteers needing to go through 8 different people at council. So this is really, really good news. I'd like to welcome Hannah, and you're going to be very busy, I suspect. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davies, for advising councillors of that. I think Councillor Ryan, you had your hand up as well. Go ahead, Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just a few things that happened within our community. We had the breast screening, and it's still going at the moment, and it's totally booked up, but you still can book within the area and go to Berwick. So they will book you in from Pakenham. And I think it's really something that, you know, we really need to look at, important for women from 60 over. Going to have that breast screen. So I went last Friday, so I've done my bit for the health and well-being for myself, and it's also important to show examples of that, that we do participate in what we believe in within our community, So I think on Wednesday we had the Minister Natalie I've got tongue-tied tonight, so I apologise. It's Hutchins. That's it. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Yes. And it was in reference to CCTVs, and Living and Learning have now been connected up within the PB Ronald Reserve, the same as the library outside, the same as Burt Park, which had some, so that's been upgraded. And there's the swimming pool at Cooree-Rup. So there's a few other places, and I think that's really a great achievement because, again, that's about safety within our community. And I think that's really so important that our community, our residents feel so safe in and around, that you can go anywhere within our community and feel safe. So that's all I've really got to report there, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Any other speakers, councillors, any other council reports? I go to Councillor Jeff Springfield. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to reiterate a few words that you spoke to at the start of the meeting, and that's just to put a shout out for all the residents and my neighbours that have been so affected by the storms we had a couple of weeks ago. I was very fortunate, though where I am in Emerald, I only had my power out for about 3.5 days, but some very good friends of mine, their power only came back yesterday. Which was a great relief for them. They've got a 12-month-old son to deal with. But there's hundreds and thousands of residents around the hills and up into the Yarra Ranges and the Mount Dandenong. They've been so affected by this. And if other councillors would have seen videos, I'm sure, but you get a chance when it's safe again and you take a trip up through Mount Dandenong and you see what's happened. It's like a war zone. It's absolutely crazy. But I'd like to commend the efforts of our officers and our emergency management team for the great work they jumped off the mark to help deliver for our residents. And As you mentioned earlier, we opened up the Hills Hub and the Cockatoo Community Complex and had services there. We had the new football pavilion at Warra Reserve was utilised for showers, and it was great to see just those creature comforts that you don't realise you take for granted when the 240 volts is missing from your network and you don't have any of these things on hand. And we're in the middle of winter. Today is solstice. We had our shortest day today, and as I saw it on the news, so 9 hours and 33 minutes of daylight. That's a lot of darkness. That's a lot of darkness to go without your lighting and the rest of it. So great effort from our council officers being involved, and my heart goes out for all the residents that were most affected. It was a very scary environment to be in. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield, for sharing that. Our thoughts are with the Hills communities. It's been a very tough couple of weeks, so thank you. And I acknowledge the great efforts of our emergency services, particularly the SES. They've never been so busy. So thank you to them. I will go to Councillor Radford. Thank you, Councillor Radford. And then I note other councillors wishing to speak as well. Thank you, Councillor Radford.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give a quick update on the Community Recovery Committee. They had organised a few events that were meant to be running in the last month, but with COVID rearing its ugly head again, we all went into lockdown, and those events unfortunately got cancelled. With consultation with council, we've been able to extend the committee running now from till the 31st of August. It was meant to end on the 30th of June. So we've been allowed an extension. And so the committee is going to be focusing on one larger event, most likely to be in Pakenham, and the purpose of the event is to encourage and facilitate reconnection. So you're reconnecting with your neighbours, with your community, so there'll be community organisations there that you can volunteer on, or churches and things like that. So I'd like to thank the committee. They've been working so hard since January, and it was really deflating to have these events cancelled, you know, like everybody has. But they've been meeting weekly since January, and now we're going to commit for another 2 months. So that's, again, another big commitment. So I'd like to personally thank the committee for all their hard work and dedication. And a very special thanks to council officers Marie and Thutch as well for assisting on that committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Radford. I will go to Councillor Kowaczyk. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. And I just wanted to mention along a similar line to yourself and Councillor Springfield mentioning the storms. I just wanted to thank our CEO, Carol Jeffs, and her staff. I know the community really appreciates the fact that council officers have been there to offer that support. So I just wanted to publicly mention the council staff who have gone above and beyond. I think it's really important to mention. And also just wanted to second what Councillor Carol Ryan said regarding the CCTV installations that she attended along with some other councillors. I think that's some fantastic news, Carol Ryan. Councillor Ryan, really great to see. And I like to say growing communities need growing resources. And so to get that investment is really crucial for the safety of our residents, particularly around Pakenham. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Kowaczyk. I too agree with you regarding the CCTV. It's great to see that, you know, to be implemented, and a close partnership with Victoria Police, where live feed is going into a police station where it's being actively monitored by police members as well. Any other speakers, councillors? Councillor Ross, I see you. Go ahead, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I'd just like to highlight the arts area of Cardinia Shire. We have some amazingly good artists in our local area. I must say we've had some art shows down at the Cardinia Cultural Centre, and for anyone who hasn't been down there since the upgrade, I'd encourage people to come along and have a really good look at what's on one show down there. We had an art show by one of our living legends, Sue Jarvis, who does amazing local work just a little while back. And at the moment, we've got the Pakenham Arts Show on, and the Pakenham Arts Show has been going since 1976. And it really does display the outstanding work from our local artists and invites them more to come in. That will be open from the 18th of June until the 18th of July. And it's just a donation on the way in as entry. So if people can't afford to, still come down and have a look. And if you can afford to put a little bit in, that would be fantastic as well. I must say, I'm really proud that the art has always been absolutely outstanding in Cardinia Shire, and we've come a long way from when the hall was outdated and I used to really battle through the best they could down there to something that really, really is up to the standard that they produce. And I encourage people to come down and have a look. Finally, we've got a facility that really does show up how good it is, and I'm really, really proud that they can utilise that. And I know that the Arts and Culture Reference Group do an amazing job trying to integrate down. I must say the staff too do the best they can to try and work it all in as well. It's a new space for us, being a 12-month-a-year arts precinct, from being when we were in the hall and other areas where it was we just didn't have the facilities to properly display the excellent artwork. So anyway, I'd encourage people to go down. I think they do a fantastic job and you won't be disappointed. I'm sorry that sounded like an advertising slogan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross, for sharing that. I'll go to Councillor Moore. Thank you.
And what a great slogan it was, Councillor Ross. It's a great art show on at the moment. I was there today, so it was well worth going to see. I was just thinking about the storm we had recently, and of course it affected up around where I live, up on the back of Narnagoon North into the Gembrook area as well. And it's those times when you think about those heroes that are dressed in orange, you know, that stand up to be counted, that you can, when you're sitting back and going, okay, it's the storms, but they're out all night 24/7 protecting our community and working with our council as well. And so, you know, they're really to be congratulated. And I think we sometimes don't think about them until they work at times like we have, but they're really great heroes. And while I was going to the Culture Centre today, there was a reason because of the Cardinia Youth Theatre, which is not very well known as a very small group of people that we're supporting through council. And unfortunately, it's been with the James Bath Reserve area down there being used as a immunation centre for the COVID-19 jab. And so it's been changed because that's where the venue was going to be for this pantomimes for this Cardinia Youth Theatre. So I want to thank our CEO, not Councillor Carol Jeffs, it's Carol Jeffs, and is that an upgrade, Mayor? I'm not quite sure, but I want to thank Carol, our CEO, and the staff, James Fisher and of course Luke Connell. They're all getting together to find another venue for this small group of families to do this pantomime, and it looks like the public hall we were talking about before might be the venue to do it at, and it's going to be great. But I want to thank the staff for supporting this small group of people because it runs on a real short shoestring budget, and they're a really great group of people. We need to support those areas in our council. But thank you again, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. I think that's every councillor has spoken. I believe so. I've just got one item I wish to talk to. I'll just bring my notes up. Thank you. In early June, Cardinia Shire Council's Deep Creek Eco Play in Pakenham was awarded a Landscape Architectural Award at the annual Landscape Architectural Awards. The judges noted that Deep Creek Eco Play highlights the demands on contemporary urban spaces, which must work hard to meet the varied needs of the whole community. This project demonstrates this through its carefully considered design strategy and appreciation of play and inclusivity. The landscape architect has realised a beautifully integrated and highly accessible space with the greatest public benefit. So that's the judge's comments. There was an amazing working group that made this all happen a couple of years ago, and that was council officers, community members, landscape architects, artists, engineers, community engagement officers, and disability advocacy groups, including our Access and Inclusion Committee. So with input of everyone I just mentioned, this was created a truly inclusive, all abilities play environment that has been created for everyone to enjoy and that Cardinia Shire Council can be very proud of. So that was really great that Cardinia Shire Council received this award earlier this month for that play space. It's a fantastic facility. Thank you, councillors, for that. So I'll just go back to the agenda, just bear with me. Councillors, are there any presentation of petitions? Councillors, please indicate if you've got a petition. Councillor Ryan, have you got a petition?
Yes. Yes, through you, Mayor. It was a late come through from Doug Evans. I'd like to table a petition. It's in reference to the Don Jackson Reserve off-leash dog park on Ahern Road, Pakenham. The residents there are asking if there can be lighting to be installed, especially now it's winter and walking their dogs. It's completely dark. They can't see where they're walking. They do congratulate us on top of that for the hard work that the team has worked to get this off-leash dog park there, but their petition, and there's quite a lot of signatures on there. So Doug Evans has got the petition. I'm just letting you know to table it if possible, please, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Councillor Ryan. That petition will be lay on the table and a report will come back to the July General Council meeting responding to that petition. So I acknowledge that. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Moving on to the agenda, our next item is notices of motion. Councillor Ross, I understand you have lodged a notice of motion. Can you please move your motion, please?
Thank you, Mayor. I move the motion 1065 that Council contacts the local government inspectorate at having a monitor spend time at Cardinia Shire Council. This is to watch the behaviour of councillors through meeting procedure, using policies and emails to harass and bully councillors. In my opinion, we have an unsafe workplace to voice any opinion of difference.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ross. Are there any councillors that wishing to second Councillor Ross's motion? Councillor Stephanie Davies, thank you. Councillor Davies, I note that. Before I go to the mover to speak to his motion, I would like to ask the CEO a couple of questions if I can. CEO Carol Jeffs, it's a long night. CEO Carol Jeffs, can I ask you the following questions? Can I ask you, in relation to Councillor Ross's motion, can I ask, is Council able to, I suppose, enact that motion? Can you provide some commentary in that? And also, can you provide councillors regarding if a councillor has a grievance, what are the processes available to that councillor to have those concerns or grievances addressed in an appropriate manner? What is the process? So if I could ask the CEO to answer those questions before I go to the mover. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Regarding the appointment of a monitor, only the Minister for Local Government can appoint a municipal monitor under the Local Government Act 2020. The Local Government Inspectorate can investigate complaints and, on the back of an investigation, can recommend the appointment of a monitor to the Minister, but it can't directly appoint. So if this notice of motion becomes a council resolution, we'll certainly enact that by writing to the inspectorate, but this is unlikely to result in the direct appointment of a monitor. With regard to a councillor having a grievance, the appropriate course of action is via the Councillor Code of Conduct, either under section 12.2 or section 12.3 of the Cardinia Councillor Code of Conduct. Section 12.2 handles complaints where a councillor believes that the legislative standards have been breached, and this is referred to an independent arbiter. Section 12.3 relates to interpersonal differences under which the Mayor has a role to attempt to resolve the matter in the first instance. Thank you, Mayor.
And thank you. Before I go to the mover, just one more supplementary question. Is there any current active grievances lodged with council in any of those processes?
Through you, Mayor, such matters are regarded as confidential, but at this point in time, there are not any from any councillor at Cardinia Shire. Thank you.
Okay, I acknowledge that. Thank you, CEO. I will go to the mover of this motion, Councillor Ross. Thank you, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. It's with great sadness that I bring this motion forward. I must say I've had conversations with council about this and in a briefing earlier, and people tried to talk to me about not putting this forward and not moving this motion. So I'm going to put it forward anyway. I think it's really important. It's in my opinion, and this is my experience. A lot of this started last year when I put some transparency motions forward that basically, for whatever reason, a lot of talk was done about agreeing with them, but never ever getting them up and supporting them. I've also seen over my time on council, particularly last year in the end of the old council and the new council, where different things have been done in the way of process at council meetings that I just can't follow at all. I believe a monitor would definitely know what should have been done in those circumstances. Also too, when it comes down to Councillor Code of Conduct, the Councillor Code of Conduct's written by councillors, it's enforced by councillors, and the judge and jury are the councillors. And if you can make it through any of that, then you might get an independent person come in to make another assessment of the situation. I just want to highlight something very important here. I have spoken extensively to the CEO and the staff, and I have spoken to the Mayor about this on a couple of occasions. And I must say the CEO within her powers has done everything she could to try and assure me, particularly when it came to mental health issues coming last year, when it was pointed out to the council of the day that these things existed, but nevertheless the Councillor Code of Conduct was used as a weapon at the time and disregarded any mental health advice given and did not care about it and just steamrolled over the top anyway. Even though the Are You OK Day actually happened the week before, they really didn't care. They were soldiering on. These are some of the things I'd like the a monitor to have a look at. They have the powers to look further. They have the power to look at the emails, things that were done at meetings. I must say, I'm somewhat of a person who brings up a different perspective on a regular basis. I found that in the past, I've put up things that some councillors didn't agree with. Nevertheless, I finished up having emails with Councillor Code of Conduct sent to me, using them as a weapon, which I think a monitor would find very interesting, and I would be interested to have a look to see whether or not I'm observing these things correctly or incorrectly. I must say, in the past, you certainly do feel if you don't agree with the majority that you're left out on the side. It's almost like other councillors feel it's a travesty if you would ever agree with someone who would be different. I've seen legal advice come to council in the past that was given advice to either make things public or not make things public, and the council of the day just chose to do what they wanted to do. And then on other occasions, they'll choose to do what suits them. I would like a monitor to have a look at this to see whether or not it was in their rights to do all these things. I've seen in the past where people use their position on council to put people down, publicly written in the papers, and then basically think that that's okay. Well, I'd like the monitor to have a look at those sort of things as well. I've seen other councillors be called racists in council briefing sessions, and the mayor and the crew did nothing to make that person withdraw that statement. So therefore the councillor went home in tears and just felt like they were just totally unprotected.
Councillor Ross, can I just remind you, you've got 30 seconds remaining to your time. Thank you.
Okay. Anyway, I just think this is the right thing to do. At the moment, I feel like it's very dysfunctional. I feel like it's a toxic culture where I just feel unsafe in a working place. I hope that a monitor can come in and bring some sensibility to all of this. I'm only asking for accountability, transparency, and this doesn't happen to anybody else. I ask my councillors for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I will go to the seconder, Councillor Davies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So I thank you, Mayor. I will not be voting for this motion due to specific detail, which I will explain. However, I have seconded it, acknowledging that Councillor Ross does have the power to raise a notice of motion and acknowledging that he has been advised to behave differently, but really wanted to speak. When something deeply personal like this is raised, we need to be sensitive, respectful and helpful. Firstly, Mayor Owen, I would like to suggest that Councillor Ross can engage with Council's Employee Assistance Program to provide support. This is also available to his family. I would like you to ask the CEO to ensure this information is offered to him within an hour of this meeting concluding, even if this has been provided before. I suggest that she could please email him this information in writing. I would now like to reiterate the CEO's advice with regard to this motion. Ms. Jeffs provided clarification and confirmation on the process of how councillors can raise grievances and allegations in accordance with the Shire's Code of Conduct and the Local Government Act 2020. Herein, it is stipulated that grievances as alleged tonight by Councillor Ross are to be made via a central notification. For Cardinia, this central notification is the Mayor. And that as Mayor, once received, you are to then engage an independent arbitrator to hear the complaint, not a monitor. A monitor does not do the function that Councillor Ross is asking for. It's an arbitrator that would be engaged by the Mayor and would provide this analysis. Now, Councillor Ross hasn't raised his grievance with you prior to tonight, Mayor Owen, as is confirmed by the CEO. And I would like to politely and empathetically reiterate that Councillor Ross, you need to follow the process. I worry, Mayor Owen, that, and I would like Councillor Ross to cease public comment and follow the due process. And my reason for this is to allow natural justice, confidentiality, and the opportunity for rectification of the issues. Raising unproven allegations exposes Council and Councillor Ross personally to significant liabilities. I reiterate, I do not support this motion, but I support Councillor Ross and I support all our colleagues. I want to work in a safe workplace and I want them to work in a safe workplace too. I'm willing to support you, Councillor Ross, as a colleague to follow the appropriate process and ensure that your concerns are investigated. Firstly, that you connect with the EAP to ensure that your wellbeing is protected, and then that we engage in the appropriate processes and investigation. Now, should Councillor Ross...
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Your time has expired. I'll give you 10 seconds to sum up if you wish. Otherwise, it has expired. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor Owen. I was right at the end. Should Councillor Ross not wish to do this internally, he can contact WorkSafe as the alternative. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Davies. Any other councillors wishing to speak to this item? Okay, Councillor Springfield first. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And it saddens me to hear Councillor Ross explain what he's feeling and what he's describing. Again, I'll just reiterate what the CEO and what other councillors have said. This is not, in my opinion, is not the right process. You're not going to achieve the outcome you hope to achieve by us supporting this motion and requesting a monitor. The Councillor Code of Conduct, which we all adopted, is the place to do this. And under 12.2, I'll just read quickly. A councillor or a group of councillors may lodge a complaint with the Councillor Conduct Officer which alleges a councillor has breached the standards of conduct. Such a complaint must specify the name of the councillor alleged to have breached the standards of conduct, the standard of conduct that is alleged to have been breached, and the behaviour that is alleged to have resulted in the breach. After receiving a complaint, the Councillor Conduct Officer must provide the complaint to the Principal Councillor Conduct Register. An arbiter appointed to hear the complaint will come from that. So it gets done externally after that, Councillor Ross. So it won't be between the council group deciding what's happening here. It will go to the Principal Councillor Conduct Register, and it will be addressed. So, Councillor Ross, I encourage you, hearing what you've described, that you should take this process, because this is the correct process for you to take in order to have your concerns addressed and heard. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Springfield. I will go to Councillor Moore.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of points I'd like to make. Look, I understand Councillor Ross's situation only too well. I think maybe just going about this process the way Councillor Ross is going about it is possibly the wrong avenue. I think Councillor Ross, in my opinion, and I'm not going to lecture him like other councillors are trying to do, lecture him what he should be doing and why he should be doing it. I don't believe he should be doing that. But I think Councillor Ross is not happy with the process. I believe he's been down the process of the code of conduct that he's been down, and I don't believe that he thinks that he's had proper justice in that spot for what he said. Mayor, that's how I read it, and I'm allowed to say what I want to say. Is that I just think that he thinks that he hasn't been heard in that code of conduct position. Maybe I'm wrong. You can tell me if I'm wrong, Mr. Mayor, if you want. But that's what I believe, that the process is the problem with Councillor Ross. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Any other speakers? Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mayor, and thanks everyone for all your opinion. I'm going to go down a different road here. Some of the things that you've all said make sense, but as Councillor Moore said, it may not make that much sense to Councillor Ross. He's been in a position where there's been a lot of stress. And we're all aware of that, and if the process is not working, well, then he's got to look at other avenues, and that's obviously what he's looking for. I see that if someone comes from outside into a work environment, can always be a positive thing, because they may see some things that we don't see. And it's always the old saying, there's always new eyes, but it can be a positive thing too, to enhance what we're already doing and saying you're going down the right road, you're doing, really, really well. And I think this is the way that, if you extend that further. So, and especially with mental health, and because I'm so passionate about mental health, that sometimes saying to someone, are you okay, is not the right thing to say. It depends depends on the person and what they're going through. And it's about, sometimes we can say things as human beings, and it's not about what we say if we think that it's okay. It's about how it affects that person. And that's the big key, how it affects that person, and that enhances the way that they think and the road that they're going down. So I have to go along the lines in a little bit different process, but at the same time, a lot what Councillor Moore has said too. So I will leave it there just for a different avenue. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Any other speakers? So I'll just bring my notes up. Just bear with me, councillors, while I do this. So as per along the lines of the CEO's introduction comments before this motion was introduced and spoke on, there is, as per the Code of Conduct, there's two processes, the standards of conduct, and I just want to provide all councillors with this information. But as other councillors have said, you know, I do have concerns if a councillor is expressing concerns regarding harassment and bullying, and comments from Councillor Ross that he believes he works in an unsafe workplace. So that is a concern from me. So there is two processes to address any grievances a councillor might have, and that's in the Code of Conduct 12.2 Standards of Conduct. So a councillor or a group of councillors may lodge a complaint with a councillor conduct officer, and in Cardinia's case, that is Manager Doug Evans. So a complaint which alleges a councillor has breached the standards of conduct. So such a complaint must specify A, the name of the councillor alleged to have breached the standards of conduct, B, the standard of conduct that is alleged to have been breached, and C, the behaviour that is alleged to have resulted in the breach. After receiving a complaint, the councillor conduct officer, that being Doug Evans, must provide the complaint to the principal councillor conduct registrar. An arbiter appointed to hear a complaint must A, ensure that the parties to the complaint are given an opportunity to be heard, B, consider the evidence and information provided by the parties to the complaint, C, ensure the rules of natural justice are observed and applied in hearing the complaint, D, conduct the hearing of the complaint with a little formality and technically the proper consideration of the complaint permit. Ensure the process is not open to the public. An arbiter appointed to hear a complaint, A, may hear the parties to the complaint in a person or by written electronic means. B, is not bound by the rules of evidence and may inform itself in any manner it sees fit. The arbiter may at any time close the complaint if the arbiter is of the view that it's vexatious, misconceived, frivolous. B, the complainant has not responded or has responded inadequately to request for further information, and a written copy of the decision and statement of reasons provided by the arbiter must include the finding, a written statement of reasons supporting the finding, and any sanctions imposed. And finally, regarding interpersonal and other differences, this is where the Mayor can be actively involved. If there are interpersonal or other differences between two or more councillors that A, are not of a policy character, B, are impeding the effective governance of the council, and C, do not involve a complaint that the standards of conduct have been breached, the Mayor, or in the Mayor, if the Mayor is one of those councillors, the Deputy Mayor or a councillor elected by the council for the purpose will facilitate a meeting of those councillors to see whether the differences can be resolved. If one or both councillors do not participate in the meeting or the meeting is held but the differences remain, the Mayor or, where relevant, Deputy Mayor or other council elected for the purpose may arrange for mediation. So I just want to advise councillors of those two processes if a councillor has a grievance. I will go to the mover to sum up, please. Thank you.
I must say, anyone who watches this video will totally understand that people truly don't understand. I mean, I've been lectured to. I've been read out the rules. I've been guided to a process I have no confidence in at all, and I just keep getting directed back to the thing that you have no confidence in. It's really interesting. You know, a huge amount of advice. I must say, and the lecturing and the reading out, it's just amazing at the end of it. It just leaves you feeling like everybody just thinks it's an academic approach. You go back to the councillor code of conduct, you do this, and you'll feel better at the end of that. You'll feel really safe in this workplace, which I find absolutely amazing. No one really listened. No one really understood. You just got directed straight back to it.
Can I call
and
a point of order,
like
please?
The councillor, excuse me, are you going to jump in on the
Thank
point
you.
of
Excuse me.
order again? Okay, go for it.
Councillor Ross, I'll pause your time. You've got 1 minute and 10 seconds remaining. Councillor Davies, please state your point of order clearly and briefly.
Councillor Mayor Owen, I would just like to confirm that the law and the confirmed process has been explained, and I'd like
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And that applies to all councillors.
So I don't think that is a point of order, but definitely the process has been explained by a number of councillors regarding the code of conduct. Councillor Ross, 1 minute remaining.
This is what I'm talking about. You just get directed back. You get told you'll be legally pursued. You could be breaching different things. You better do the right thing or else. I mean, how does that invoke anybody to be honest in the workplace or even share anything? You need a monitor to come in to look over it to see whether it's correct or not. I mean, getting it jammed down your throat repeatedly, the rules, you'll get sued, you do this. In fact, to be honest, with this motion I got put up, more people were worried about what it would look like at council if I put it up, because it might have a reflection back on council, than caring about what was happening with me. I think it speaks for itself. That's why a monitor needs to come in to have a look at it, so then they can go over it and they can see what people do to other people. Anyway, this is obviously the way that's been displayed, that people think you have a solution to this. Anyway, I put this forward. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Councillors, I put Councillor Ross's notice of motion up for a vote. All those in favour, please indicate by a show of hands, please. Okay, those against, please indicate by a show of hands. Thank you. That is lost.
I call for a division, please, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, Councillor Ross has called a division. So we'll vote again, councillors. All those in favour, please indicate by a show of hands, please. Okay, I call upon Councillor Ross, Councillor Ryan. Those against, please indicate by a show of hands, please. Thank you. I call Councillor Moore, Councillor Radford, Councillor Davies, Councillor Springfield, Councillor Kowaczyk, Councillor Owen. That motion is lost. Moving on to the next item, that is community question time. We have received some questions for tonight's meeting. So the first question is from Tanya Baxter. I'll ask the CEO to read the question and respond. Thank you, Ms. Jeffs.
Thank you, Mayor. And the question from Ms. Tanya Baxter is, could Council please provide the breakdown of the costs they are allocating to what they say is the maintenance of $32,000, down from $45,000, with no explanation from last figures, with regard to the Beaconsfield Neighbourhood Centre 2021-2022 maintenance charge, so that the BNC can assess it for budgeting in an open and transparent process to its Committee of Management. Thank you, Ms. Baxter, for your question. I can confirm that Council forwarded its data on the 19th of May 2021 to the Beaconsfield Neighbourhood Centre. Council is continuing to work closely with the Neighbourhood Centre on a future agreement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Jeffs. We have also received 2 questions from Jessica Walton. Again, I will ask the CEO to read the questions and respond. Thank you,
Mayor,
Ms.
and
Jeffs.
thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Walton. The first question is that the Disability Pride mural in Footscray, created by Larissa McFarlane and other disabled artists, is a wonderful artwork that encourages disabled people to feel proud of their identity and community. It also demonstrates Maribyrnong's councils and the Footscray community's support for the idea of disability pride and community. I would like to see more public art by disabled artists in Cardinia Shire. Will the council commit to a program commissioning public works of art by disabled artists who live in Cardinia Shire? Thank you for your question, Ms. Walton. Council is developing an access and inclusion disability action plan informed by our community and Cardinia Shire Council that sets out what we will do to make our workplace, services, programs and community more accessible to people with disabilities, ensuring they are equitable, inclusive and safe. The Disability Action Plan will be based on 4 key principles in the Victorian Disability Act 2006. That is, reducing barriers to people with a disability in accessing goods, services and facilities, reducing barriers to people with a disability in obtaining and maintaining employment, promoting inclusion and participation of people with a disability in the community, and achieving tangible changes in attitudes and practices which discriminate against people with a disability. The period for submissions has closed, but we will endeavour to include this feedback of yours as part of the consultation process for the Disability Action Plan. Thank you for your question and thank you, Mayor. If you're happy for me to go on to the second question.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. The second question is, Australia is a signatory to the UN Convention on Rights of People with a Disability. Article 9 and 21 of this convention are of particular importance when you consider access to information. Easy English helps many disabled people and people with low literacy levels to understand information. It uses simple everyday language supported with images. Is Council working towards all public documents and reports being translated into easy English? Council has recently developed a draft Disability Action Plan. Why is the draft plan not translated into easy English? Is this going to mean that some people who may have given feedback on the draft will be excluded? Will Council commit to translating the final Disability Action Plan into easy English? Thank you for your question again, Ms. Walton. The community engagement for the development of the Council's Disability Action Plan commenced on the 26th of April and was open until the 7th of June. In addition to a number of workshops, pop-ups and surveys, the engagement activities included an easy read activity utilising images. Council will have an accessible, easy read version of both the draft and the final Disability Action Plan. In addition to these documents, Council's common publications such as Connect magazine are produced in alternative formats, both large print and audio. All Council social media videos are audio captioned. Your valuable feedback regarding accessible information will again be included in the draft Disability Action Plan to ensure we are making improvements where possible. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, CEO. Thank you to Jessica for her questions, and I do note that a written response will be forwarded to Jessica in the coming days. Moving on to the next question. I've received a question from Andrew McNabb, directed to myself as Mayor. The question reads, can you please show me and explain where in the bylaws and councillor expense policy over the periods 2008 to present that states that the mayor car can be used for personal use? Can you please provide the clause and number and a hard copy provide of the relevant clauses? That's the question. Thank you, Andrew, for your question. The provision of a mayoral vehicle has been included in the council expenses policy for many years. Although not explicitly mentioned in the policy, it has been accepted practice that the vehicle is available for private use if required. In the updated policy recently adopted, this matter has been further clarified. So Mr. McNabb will send you those documents for your information. Finally, we have a question from Tony O'Hara. Thank you, Tony, for your question. I will ask the CEO to read and respond to your questions. Thank you, Ms. Jeffs.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. O'Hara. In relation to the Councillor Code of Conduct, a Cardinia councillor has recently posted on Facebook an article directly copied and pasted from the press release of Jordan Crugnali MP, along with the photos of himself with a state minister in the background. I believe this is an embarrassment for council, as the minister has since called him out for doing so. The post was edited and was again challenged by the minister. Both comments by the minister have since been hidden or removed. The post is, as it is not, still making the councillor look like he's taking credit. Clauses from the Councillor Code of Conduct. Council must not discredit or mislead council or public. Either in performing the role of a councillor must ensure their behaviour does not bring discredit upon the council. In performing the role of a councillor must not deliberately mislead the council or the public about any matter related to the performance of their public duties. Section 5.3, for the purposes of Section 123, circumstances involving the misuse of a position by a person who is or has been a councillor or member of a delegated committee include D, exercising, performing or purporting to exercise or perform a power, duty or function that the person is not authorised to exercise or perform. 11.2, although any councillor is entitled to communicate his or her views to the media, constituents and others, they should not, in doing so, bring the council into disrepute. Question 1, will council take action to add appropriate clauses in the Councillor Code of Conduct to stop councillors taking personal credit for works of council, government or any other authority or business? So thank you for your question, Mr. O'Hara, and I just do need to clarify that your question refers to a minister, but from what I understand, I believe that you're referring to our local member for Bass, Ms. Jordan Crugnali. The Code of Conduct is able to be reviewed at any time, and the council may take your suggestions into account when the code is next reviewed. In terms of the council taking action, there have been no complaints about this matter regarding the Code of Conduct, and complaints are not able to be brought by members of the public. Question 2 is, will council arrange for this post to be deleted in its current form on Facebook? Again, thank you for your question, Mr. O'Hara, and council has no ability to delete councillors' personal Facebook or other social media pages. Thank you, Mr. O'Hara, and thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Jeffs, for that response, and Tony, obviously a written response will be forwarded to you in the coming days as well. So thank you, councillors, for joining me in this meeting tonight, and thank you for everyone tuning online during these still difficult times, and hopefully we can meet in person very soon. So that concludes the meeting. I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.